Shalom, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to End Time Unity Protocols, Checks and Balances. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is a series of messages I am compelled to present before an awakening nation. This is the 26th installment. It is addressed to, or meant for, those who are drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah, those who seek to do His will. With that said, my name is Symmanayah. Let's begin. In this 26th installment, I want to bring to your attention why we must be aware that distractions are indeed attacks on communication. My brothers and sisters, we all believe that one day 144,000 Hebrews or Arborim will rise up along with a great multitude of those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. We read of this in Revelation 7 chapter. Many believe this will happen before the physical return of Yahusha Mashiach. Some just plainly do not know, and then there are others who think it would be after. Some called up thing called the rapture, which there will not be a rapture before the physical return of Yahusha Mashiach. It will not be. Soon, time will prove such, sooner than we think. My brothers and sisters, distractions are attacks on communication. Why? Because we have become so inundated or entertained with distractions that many of us fail to realize that there are things that the Almighty Father Spirit in Yahusha's name is saying to us to guide and teach us, to direct our footsteps. We battle with making choices regarding things that pleases us, all too often not aware that we can highly discern. We have the ability to discern what the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, we are distracted on so many fronts that many of us are spending so much time not even realizing that even within the body of Yashar'al, we create distractions. It comes in many forms, as I stated. Currently, there's a widespread of behaviors where people are not even listening to one another. In other words, they hear you, but they're waiting for you to finish, waiting for you to be silent so they can speak. So they're busy thinking and marinating on what they want to say, thinking about what they want to say, or they may even know what they want to say, and they're just waiting for you to be quiet. I have witnessed some call it listening to talk. Yeah, I'm listening to you, but I'm listening to you so I can talk next. Anything that functions as a block or any action that take our attention away from seeking to discern what is indeed set apart, what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying, anything that seeks to block that or hinders that is a means of fighting set apartness, is a representation of rebelliousness. Soon, my brothers and sisters, we will grow to realize the need to begin hearing, but not even hearing what we're saying to one another, but listening carefully and attentively with a mind to discern whether the words we are hearing are from the Spirit of Yahushua, whether the words we are hearing contributes to our worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. We will grow to know why it's important to sharpen our senses, my brothers and sisters, and be focused. Yes, there are many people who just listen so they can talk. They don't really hear the words, or they hear you, but they're not really listening. However you want to put it, my brothers and sisters, the bottom line is we're not receiving what is behind the words from one another. We have become so entertained and so distracted. Patience continues to knock at the door. There's a such thing as swift patience as well. A patience that we wait on Yahusha. And if he moves swiftly, we respond as he say, respond, which could be swiftly. Or we may wait for such time as he break things down for us to understand fully. My brothers and sisters, this phenomenon of listening to talk and ignore and discerning the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha will be met with the discipline from the Almighty Father. There are things we will grow to recognize that must and will come to be. And in order for this to happen, we must be able to focus beyond the many distractions that we face. In order for those who will fulfill being gathered from the four corners of the earth, in order for the 144,000 Hebrews in great multitude, as mentioned in Revelation, to be gathered from the four corners of the earth, it's going to require us to pray, to watch, to study, to pray some more, seek to discern and know when to respond and how to respond with accuracy. My brothers and sisters, it's time for us to know and identify distractions that attack our communications, distractions that cause us to not pay attention to one another. Discernment is a real thing. The Mashiach, Yahuwah's word manifest in the flesh, demonstrates to us how we are to engage one another, how we are to engage one another, and how we are to walk in obedience to him and be like him. Let me share a passage with you. An example of discernment, my brothers and sisters, was the woman at the well in John 4th chapter. And I want to bring your attention to specifically when Yahusha told the woman to go call her husband. Verse 16, Yahusha said to her, "Go, call your husband and come here." The woman answered, said, "I have no husband." Yahusha said to her, "You have well said, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said, "Master, I see you are a prophet." Whether we realize it or not, my brothers and sisters, this was an example of Yahusha showing discernment, showing how he can know the life of a person, whether they tell him or not, or whether he's known or not. You know, there's many among Yashar'al, as we find ourselves being disciplined, there are those who would just throw up words like, "You don't know me. I don't know you. I've never met you before in my life. You don't know anything about me." There are brothers who would say, "Oh, there's no way you can judge me. You don't know me." But yet that same brother preaches that we are vessels or temples of the Almighty Father. That same brother speak on how the Spirit of Yahuah uses him. Or even sisters may have said the same thing. But I say to you, my brothers and sisters, we fail to realize that discernment is when the Spirit of Yahusha reveals to us. Just as Yahusha knew the thoughts of the woman, so can we, when listening to him, perceive the thoughts of those among us. Luke 5:22 talks about, "And Yahusha, knowing their thoughts, answered and said to him, Why are you reasoning in your hearts? Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven to you, or say, rise up and walk?" If you read the rest of this, my brothers and sisters, you will see just by the demonstration of discernment, there will be times when people will be astonished. In the case with Yahusha, they was astonished and they tried to lay hands on him. My brothers and sisters, discernment, true discernment is when the Spirit of Yahusha reveals and proof comes. We will begin to recognize how we will see and hear things beyond the many distractions that attack our ability to communicate as we rise up in maturity in this walk. We will discern how the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, reveals to teach us, reveals to guide us, reveals so that we can interact with one another wisely. Are we not aware of how Acts 17:24 says, "Yahuah, who made the world and all that is in it, this one being master of heaven and earth, does not dwell in dwellings made with hands." You see, my brothers and sisters, while many people will put focus on the temples and brick and mortar, the Most High dwells within us, we who are his children. Let me read the following, my brothers and sisters. 2 Corinthians 6:16 says, "What union has the dwelling place of the Almighty One with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Almighty One. As the Almighty One has said, I shall dwell in them, walk among them, and I shall be their Almighty One, and they shall be my people." My brothers and sisters, now many are quick to say there's no way Yahuah is in that person. They'll judge outward appearance. They'll judge actions. They'll say, I don't see any fruit. There's no way Yahuah is in that. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, let us not be quick to judge outward appearance. Let us examine and let us be prayerful. For who among us, if we had a house, apartment, our dwelling place, who among us like a clean house? Who among us, if we don't keep our house clean, at the very least, we know somebody that keeps a clean house or apartment or trailer, or keep their space if they're homeless, the space around them, they keep it organized. My brothers and sisters, just as we would clean a house because we prefer, at least many of us do, I do, prefer to be in a clean dwelling, so it is with the Most High. We can be vessels of His, and so in His discipline, He may be taking us through. He may be allowing us to reap the benefits of disobedience, which will bring us to weakness, to yield and cry out to Him, and then rise up in renewal of mind and spirit as a result of acknowledging His atonement, acknowledging the shed blood of the Lamb, and rising up, acknowledging that He sent His set-apart Spirit to renew us day by day, moment by moment. I say to you, O Yasharal, this renewal process will pierce through the distractions that attack our communication. But we are in a time where we must be mindful that sometimes we're communicating with people and they may not be getting what we're saying. They may not be understanding. They may not even want to ask because they may think it's a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. Let us not fall for that okie-doke excuse, my brothers and sisters. Questions are questions that must be asked and answered if we are indeed sincere. Now, if they're rhetorical questions and someone just asking and they already have an answer and they really don't want to talk about it and they're wrong, it will receive its rewards. But ask the questions as you may, my brothers and sisters, because so much stirring will begin to happen inside. The battle of the flesh warring against the spirit will ramp up. Your flesh warring against your spirit, my flesh warring against my spirit. If we come together, your flesh and my flesh are warring against my spirit. My flesh and your flesh is warring against your spirit, and the numbers increases. It is of great magnitude, my brothers and sisters, but there's a power and might much greater than that. The power of the Almighty One, the Almighty Father Yahuah, who dwells in us and works His work within us. And as He cleans His house, we will witness set apartness well up. Yes, there are those who we will see go through discipline and may face just sickness and physical death or untimely death for whatever reason. Make no mistake, man lives by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Almighty Father, as it is written in Deuteronomy 8:3. So no one can face physical death unless it's at the word of the Almighty Father. And if we believe He is indeed the Almighty One, we must come to grips with that as we begin to witness death become widespread among us, O Yashar'al. Colossians 3:16 say, let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing with pleasure in your hearts to the Master in psalms and songs for praise and spiritual songs. The words of Messiah dwell in you richly, my brothers and sisters, in us, one towards another. This is something that we're commanded to do. And we have the power and the might. We have the ability. We have the strength through Yahusha Mashiach, through the renewing power of the Spirit of the Almighty Father. Let us begin to recognize the many distractions and press forward, my brothers and sisters. Let us never forget the flesh war against the spirit, as mentioned in Galatians 5:17. Let us never forget how sometimes there are those who are confident, but confidently wrong, using their own competence and disregarding the power and might and direction from the Spirit of Yahusha. My brothers, so let us be mindful of 2 Corinthians 3:5 and 6. Consider it, my brothers and sisters. Consider the life in this like never before. It says, not that we are competent in ourselves to reckon any matter as from ourselves, but our competence Our competence is from the Almighty One, who also made us competent as servants of a renewed covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills and the Spirit gives life. You see, my brothers and sisters, there are so many people that just say, show me the script, thinking they would be satisfied. And many of them will be like ravaging dogs, just want to eat at the word, just want to eat it up and tear it up, and not read and seek to discern the life in it and let it be applied. So not everyone who say quickly, show me the scriptures, show me the script, is hungry to learn. For there are those who will just be as a pig. Know this, oh brother, oh sister, oh Yashar'al. Know this, the Almighty Father Yahuah will clean up his house. We who are his children will represent him. We will witness him fulfill his promises as it relates to discipline. I mention this often, as it's stated in Hebrews 12th chapter, as well as Revelation 3:19. But for this segment, I'm going to go ahead and read Revelation 3:19. But I urge you to also review Hebrews 12, of which I mention often. Revelation 3:19 says, as many as I love, I reprove and discipline. So be ardent and repent. My brother, my sister, hear these words. In the coming days, we will witness all the proof that we need regarding what must be done, regarding what is promised to the set-apart family of Yahuah. We will witness what is to be. We will witness what Yahusha meant by bringing division, as mentioned in Matthew 10th chapter. Family members, people of your own household. The great separation, the great movement towards set-apartness has begun. It will ramp up as end times get intense, O Yasharal, and we will understand how distractions are attacks on our communication. We will begin to understand how to test one another. Are we not aware that the scriptures tell us to examine all things? Are we not aware how the scriptures tell us to try the spirit, as mentioned in 1 John 4:1? I mention it often. My brothers and sisters, do we not, when we eat, sometimes take a taste to test to see whether the food is done, whether it's suitable for our consumption? I say to you, the same practices we experience every day when it comes to eating. Let us look at when someone is speaking, that they are either providing to us spiritual food. When they're speaking, rather, they're either providing us spiritual food or food that has been overhandled, mistakenly used, or infected with their own beliefs. 1 John 4:1 say, beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirits whether they are of the Almighty One, because many false prophets have gone out. My brothers and sisters, it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to recognize who really among us desire to get to know one another, desire to come closer together in set apartness. One way to prove such is next time, every now and then, randomly ask a person, don't take this personal, but could you tell me what I just said to you? Can you repeat what I just said? You can quote me or paraphrase it, but let me know that you heard what I said. If we begin to do this from time to time, my brothers and sisters, it will challenge us to next time listen to one another, so that if we are asked to repeat it, we can repeat. Secondly, this is important if we're passing a message. End times are here, my brothers and sisters, and there are messages that are going forward by the Almighty Father. In the name of Yahusha Mashiach, there are those among us who are receiving instructions, guidance, directions, things to pass on to others. And if we're not passing the message to the next person or to those we are charged to do so, we have dropped the ball. We have neglected our duty. We will be held accountable. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters. Our redemption truly draws near. We will be refined. We will learn how to step away from distractions as Abba Yahuah disciplined his children. Prepare to witness deliverance in more precise ways to improve our communications and fellowship with one another. We will grow to discern how communication is very important. There are attacks, my brothers and sisters. There are attacks within our homes, our family. There are attacks that come with many distractions. Show me this, show me that, hear this, see this, do that. There are attacks within relationships. From childhood, siblings, brothers and sisters fighting with one another. And in these fightings come distractions that attack our ability to communicate with each other. There are distractions even in relationships. Meaningful relationships, my brothers and sisters, including fellowships. There are attacks that bring regret. Let us learn how to stop such in their tracks. There are attacks within community, dealing with neighbors, dealing with others that we interact with, whether we go into the store, whether we go on to and fro about our business in many different ways and forms. If we encounter others, we face distractions. Even by looking around, things we see can easily distract us. And believe it or not, time gets away, doesn't it, my brothers and sisters? How much time has been wasted by distractions we've overcome? One of the biggest distractions of all is in the technological distraction. A person starts searching for, let's just say, searching for directions how to get to a certain location. And while they're searching, they see links embedded in the search. All of a sudden now they captured by ads. They're captured by distractions. Social media have many ads and feeds and things to attract your attention. And they have built the platforms to understand what your interests are so they can know these are things that interest us. Even television is tied to social media because people are buying the data. Data is being shared and gobbled up. Data is the new oil, or Yashar'al. The new oil from a practical and natural perspective. For the true oil is the anointing of the Almighty Father Yahuah. My brothers and sisters, the scriptures tell us that Yahuah prepares a table in the face of our enemies. Let us know how to govern ourselves at that table. Yes, my brothers and sisters, end time have arrived. Our spirits will be stirred. We will be challenged on every front, even on jobs or careers, even if we're working in positions of customer service or seeking customer service as a result of interacting outside our fellowship, outside our homes, outside our job, unless you are a customer service rep. Have you experienced people not listening to you as you voice your concern or complaint? Distractions, my brothers and sisters. We are distracted. We are a now generation. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, the time is now for us to understand what it is to die day by day, as mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15:31. Let us be mindful of 2 Corinthians, that was 15:31, in terms of dying day by day. 2 Corinthians 4:16 reads that we do not lose heart, but even if our outward man is perishing, the inward man is being renewed day by day. 2 Corinthians 4:16. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he is a renewed creature. The old matters have passed away. See, all matters have become renewed. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, as we move forward, another distraction, and many of us don't realize it, but it's fueling anger. There are those among us who are being fueled by anger and not necessarily a hunger to do the will of the Almighty Father. And I will speak on this later. But for this installment, distractions that represent attacks on our communication must be dealt with. My brothers and sisters, some of you may not be aware of this, but even funerals will become a distraction. Even the need to go back and tell people I'm getting ready to go because the Mashiach is guiding me, the Father's guiding me here, could be a distraction. It might sound cold-hearted because the masses would say, oh, you didn't go to his funeral? You didn't go to her funeral? Boy, after everything they did for you? Or I thought that was your brother. I thought you loved him. Let's be mindful of the realities of scriptures, my brothers and sisters, and what happened in times past. We could face challenges now and going forward. I'm specifically want to bring your attention to Luke 9th chapter, 59 through 62. Luke 9th chapter, verse 59 through 62. It reads as follows. And he said to another, follow me. But he said, Master, let me first go and bury my father. And Yahusha said to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and announce the reign of the Almighty One. And another also said, Master, I shall follow you, but let me first say goodbye to those in my house. But Yahusha said to him, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the reign of the Almighty One. I want you to consider this strongly, my brothers and sisters. There are so many individuals out there that want attention or even looking to make a name for themselves or either just trying to make money off of our history. There's nothing wrong with being aware of history, my brothers and sisters, but right now there's a widespread proliferation of content that's just talking about history. Now, some will say, if you don't know your history, then you don't know where you're going. But at what point do we stop looking back at history and begin to recognize that we are in the midst of one another? Vessels that are functioning physically right now, in this time right now, guided by the Almighty Father Yahuah, attacked by the wicked one. Do we stumble and fall? Sure we do, my brothers and sisters. But at what time are we going to start saying, I got work to do? Enough of the history. We knew we were enslaved. We knew there was a time before we were enslaved where we were royalty, where there were sovereigns, or some will say kings among us, riches among us. We knew when we had times where we lived in peace, or should I say, with less turmoil. But we also know that there has been times of turmoil, wars and battles, scattering across the face of the planet. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, at some point, we must come away from just consuming time on history. For in some cases, it's a distraction that fuels our anger. And therefore, we are responding and acting out of anger. Now, the scriptures talk about it's okay to be angry and sin not. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, let us be angry of what we know about the past. But if we take our eyes off of the Almighty Father Yahuah, if we take our eyes off of what we're supposed to be doing now and going forward in Yahusha's name, then we may find ourselves falling into sin. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, distractions are attacks on communication. And it's time for us to recognize how to manage them, how to deal with them, how to move away from them step by step, moment by moment, day by day. Yes, my brothers and sisters, we will begin to discern how to navigate beyond such. Be encouraged, O Yashar'al. Seek to identify the chosen leaders, the chosen mores, teachers, pastors, the chosen shepherds and leaders that have been chosen by the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name. Seek to discern those who yield to the Most High and deliver words, those who may not be carrying, quote unquote, a title, but they experience the Spirit of Yahusha guiding them to speak words that are necessary. Let us know what it means in Ephesians 5th chapter, 21st verse when it says, subjecting yourselves to each other in the fear of the Almighty One. Let us know what that means and begin to yield. Let us know when to speak, when to rise up. Yashar'al, enough said right now about distractions. But as we begin to say to one another things that of grave importance as it relates to end time, as we begin to speak to one another, let's make sure the listener, the hearer, receives the message. And let us be mindful, sometimes our job is to speak and walk away. And the Most High will add more water to the plant, so to speak. And let us trust, my brothers and sisters, that Isaiah 55:11 will have its place. Isaiah 55:11. So as I come to a close, be mindful of this. So we cannot beat something into someone's ears and head. We cannot make someone do what is right. Let us know the difference between distractions and the times we must be obedient. And out of our obedience, there will be those who will call our words a distraction. There's a difference. But as I close, my brothers and sisters, remember Isaiah 55:11, where he says, so is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty. Some translations say void, but shall do what I please and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for. If we are indeed delivering words from the Almighty Father, they will pierce through the many distractions that we face. They will put the tax on our communication to naught, to an end. No obstacles can stop what is about to occur, O Yashar'al. Prepare to behold the 144,000 Hebrews in a great multitude, which I tell you often, together will still be a remnant when you compare it to the total population. This number is going to be massive, my brothers and sisters. And you can have millions and millions of people, but when you compare it to over 7.2 billion on the planet, that's still a remnant. Prepare to witness how the Almighty Father will indeed bring us together, O Yashar'al. Prepare to witness how we will gather the strength to be martyrs for Yahusha's name. Prepare to witness how we will move closer to the Most High and physically move as we begin to migrate towards the promised land. In due season, sooner than we expect, my brothers and sisters, movement will begin. The world will begin to see a stirring of the set-apart children of Yahuah like never before. The proof will become clear, crystal clear to those who are indeed directed to fulfill what is written. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, I invite your communications, your questions, your comments. If and only if you believe you are being led to do so, I invite you to continue to witness the messages that I present as I believe I am compelled to do by the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. So by the leading of Yahusha's Spirit, my brothers and sisters, I will continue to press forward. Soon and very soon, my brothers and sisters, I will try to make attempts as I am led. Or should I say, I will indeed make actions to be more close and upfront by showing myself, my face, where you can look into my eyes. It's not about me. But I do know, my brothers and sisters, as the Most High works in us and through us, the time will come where many of us who are behind the mics, many of us who are using social media more than anything else, will step before you, face to face, before one another. Many of us will discover, Yashar'al, that as we move beyond the distractions that attack our communications, that we will be among one another of like mind. And I'm not talking about these camps, groups, communities, or fellowships that have been enlarged with many cliques that conflict with one another. I'm not talking about coming together face to face to be backstabbers to one another. I'm talking about coming together fashioned and disciplined by the power and might of the Almighty Father. I'm talking about coming together, truly demonstrating that I am indeed your brother. You are indeed my brother or sister. My brothers and sisters, prepare to witness the phenomenal, for we will see it in great magnitudes in the coming of days. Until next time, O Yashar'al, I say to you, be encouraged. Continue to press into what is expected. Continue to press into what is indeed desired of you regarding worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father Yahuah. So in Yahusha's name, I say to you, O Yashar'al, Shalum.